This AI readiness assessment, I built that. It sits on my website right now. Someone fills it in, gets a personalized AI score, and their email goes straight into my list, segmented by where they sit. It's a real lead generation tool, and I built it without knowing a single line of code. So I had tried something like this in the past, building a readiness assessment using both ChatGPT and Claude Chat, and I'd get chunks of code that I'd have to work on to incorporate into my website. The output was probably too technical for me to actually follow it properly, and the actual capabilities of the app were fairly simple. I struggled to fix the deployment issues, and it was very difficult to connect it to the rest of my ecosystem. Honestly, it just kept falling apart. And that's when I tried Claude Code. I want to be upfront with you though. Things definitely broke. And there were times when I had no idea what was happening or how long it was going to take. But I eventually got there. So if you've heard loads about Claude Code and have no idea where to start, or you've got an idea for what you want to build but don't think you're technical enough to do it, then this is the video for you. Because if I was able to build something with Claude Code as a beginner, then so can you. For those of you new to the channel, my name is Cian and I am the AI Productivity Coach. I've trained thousands of people on how to use AI effectively in their work and life to make it way easier. So if that sounds like you, please make sure to subscribe and join me on this journey. Despite training so many people on these AI tools, I had actually never built an app myself. So let's get into how I built this AI readiness assessment using Claude Code. To start, what actually is Claude Code? So if you're watching this video, you've likely already used tools like ChatGPT, Claude, or Gemini for a lot of AI tasks. And the majority of these tasks are likely you type something into the tool and it gives you an answer. It's kind of like a conversation. Claude Code is different. I consider it like a builder. You can think about it like how you would build a house. Think about what it actually takes to build a house from scratch. You need an architect to design the structure, a builder to lay the foundations, a plumber, an electrician. Each one is a specialist, and you'd normally hire them all separately. Claude Code is like having them all on call in one place. It's the architect that maps out how to structure your app, the builder that assembles the app, the plumber that connects your tools together, or the electrician that makes sure it runs properly. And basically, you're the client. You describe what you want, and Claude Code figures out how to build that and does the work for you. There is a difference from the regular Claude Chat. Claude Code works directly on your laptop in a project folder. It reads files, writes code, runs it, and fixes what breaks, all on its own. That gives it the ability to build real things, not just describe what they are. So how do you get started with Claude Code? I actually got a bit of motivation from a friend where he just told me, basically just try and build something. It could be anything just to help you get used to Claude Code and what it can do. His suggestion was to build a fitness app, which I thought was actually a pretty cool idea. But I already had this AI readiness assessment idea in my head, so I thought, why not try and build that? I think this is the most important place to start. It's the idea that you want to make sure is right. So if you're just trying to learn it, maybe choose something that's quite fun to build, and maybe it's something that you would use or your friends or family would use. Or if you think about it from a business point of view, think about a problem that you want to solve and how you could build something to solve that. This was my approach. I basically sat with the Claude Chat first. So this is the regular Claude Chat and not Claude Code. And in simple English, I described what I wanted to do and what I wanted to build. And I asked Claude Chat to ask me questions to get details on what I wanted to build. So we ended up kind of having a long back and forth conversation where it got all the details it needed to help me start in Claude Code. It actually asked me a lot of questions that I hadn't even thought of, and that was the beauty of starting in Claude Chat first. By the end of that conversation, I had a clear enough plan to hand it off to Claude Code. So here are a few examples of what that could look like for you. If you're a marketer, this could be an interactive quiz on your site. So for example, a visitor answers 5 questions about their challenges and gets a personalized playbook at the end. You capture the email, they get something useful. It's built to your spec and not a third-party template. If you're a consultant or a coach, you could do an assessment that qualifies leads before they book a call. 5 or 6 questions, a score, a result, straight into your email list. It's automated. It's running while you sleep. That's similar to what I built. If you run a small business, it could be a custom pricing calculator. Customers put in what they need, maybe it's a project size, timeline, scope, and get a live estimate with a downloadable summary. Your logic, your pricing, no developer needed. The point is the same in every case. You don't need to know how apps work. You just need to know what problem it solves, and you should start there. But what do you need before you actually start using Claude Code? There are a few things you need in place before you can build anything with Claude Code. And I'm going to try and simplify each one to make it easy to understand. Starting off, you'll need the Claude desktop app, and you'll need to be on a pay plan of Claude, so starting from the Pro plan at around $20 per month. Next, you'll need a folder on your desktop. You can think of this like the plot of land to build a house. Everything Claude Code builds goes inside it. I just put mine on the desktop, but you decide based on your folder structure. The next thing you'll need to set up is the terminal. Claude Code runs on something called the terminal. This is the black window where you type commands instead of clicking. On Mac, it's called Terminal. On Windows, it's Command Prompt or PowerShell. It sounds daunting to a non-technical person, but it isn't. Claude Code can tell you exactly what you need to type. Next thing you'll need is GitHub. So back to our house example, every construction project needs an architectural design. And this is basically a plan or a record of what is being built. GitHub is basically that record and that plan. It also can show what has changed and where it is right now. Every change is saved. If something breaks, you can go back and it's completely free. There are alternatives if you are using something else. So for example, these could be GitLab or Bitbucket. GitHub is just the most common and that's what I use, and usually Claude defaults to that. The next thing you might need is Netlify. So in the house example, your house is basically built. Right now, it's sitting behind a locked gate. There's no road, there's no sign, and no one can reach it. Netlify basically builds that road, unlocks that door, and opens it to the public. It takes your code from GitHub and puts it to a real URL so anyone can visit it. And Netlify is free to start off with. There are, of course, plenty of alternatives here. Vercel is one of those populars and it's quite similar. Cloudflare Pages is another one, but for this example, I just went with Netlify. The final thing you might need are API keys. Your house is open. Now it needs to function. You need running water, electricity, Wi-Fi. Each connection comes with a unique account identifier. It's basically something that says the supply should come to this house. API keys are exactly that. They connect your app to the other tools it might need to work. For my assessment, I needed a few. One directly to Claude itself to help power the report. I also needed one that connected to my email service provider. And I also needed one to connect to my YouTube channel to get the latest videos. Most tools give you API keys when you sign up. And Claude ran through how it could find each API key on each of these tools. There are other things you may need depending on what you are building. I won't go into all of them, but I'll just say a note on some other tools that people often refer to. A lot of people talk about using Claude Code with Notion or Obsidian. These technically aren't part of the build stack, and you don't actually need either of them to build an app. These are more so used to organize your thinking. So a lot of people use them as a secondary brain to help them plan their ideas and get them to production level ideas. Oftentimes they'll use these tools to format all these thoughts and then bring it into Claude Code to build what they're thinking of. The more context you give Claude up front, the less work you'll have to do later on. So let's move into the specific workflow that helped me build this app. I basically had the two windows side by side, the regular Claude Chat and then Claude Code on the other side. I basically asked Claude Chat what was the next step I needed to paste into Claude Code in order for it to start building. And once I get a result from Claude Code, I then paste the response into the Claude Chat to explain it to me in simple English. Usually then the Claude Chat would give me my next command to build the app and then paste it back into Claude Code. And that was kind of it. It was basically like a back and forth between the two. And if I needed to connect to other apps, like with the API keys, Claude would basically direct me through that and tell me the steps I needed to do in those tools in order to get what we needed. So there's basically two tools. One was thinking, one was building, and I was just passing the messages between them with a bit of direction on what I wanted and how I wanted it to look. And if I saw the app and I saw some errors, I could even just take a screenshot, put it into Claude Chat and explain what I thought was wrong. Then it would give instructions to put back into Claude Code. It was a really helpful way for me to understand exactly what was going on, but convert that into a technical language that could help fix and update the app that I was building. But what actually went wrong? This is the part that no one really shows you in these tutorials, which I have seen anyway. And it's the part where a lot of people will start to give up. There were many issues when I was trying to build the app. The first one was confusion around the environment variables. Without going too technical, basically when I deployed my app, I filled out the AI Readiness Assessment and nothing happened. I had to go back and forth with Claude Chat and Claude Code to understand firstly what the actual error was. And this involved going into functions and all the different logs, not something I was understanding at all at the time. And it turned out there were about 3 different errors. So we had to unpack each of them individually, and Claude Code basically was able to fix them once we got down to what the actual issue was. I also kept getting a generic error message after this. It said something was going wrong, generating the report, please try again. And I had to go into the detailed error logging to understand exactly what it was. And by understand, I mean find the actual explanation that the function was giving. And once I had that text, I was able to put it into Claude Chat. It understood it, and then it gave me a prompt to put into Claude Code and fix it. I also had an issue with DNS verifications. In order to send an email properly, I needed to verify my DNS record with my website hosting provider. It just kept showing as missing, and this actually took me hours to figure out. And it turned out I was using the wrong hosting provider website. Very quick fix, and it finally verified it. But basically from that, it did take quite a lot of time to figure out that error. So I think my advice for a lot of the tough parts is that you need to be patient. I probably got to about 80% of the app really quickly. And then to get the final 20% right, it took me hours and hours. So just one thing to flag, that if you are going through a bit of a struggle, it's probably normal, or at least I hope it's normal. Okay, so what was the result? Here's basically what I ended up with. Someone can come to my site, fill in the assessment, and they basically get a personalized score with the tier of AI readiness that they're in. Claude's API generates a report specific to them, and my email provider can help me send an email directly to their inbox. So then they have the report for themselves and they can use it however they want. So please try it out. I'd actually love some feedback on it. So if you fill it out, get the report, you can respond to the email and let me know what you think about it, what I can improve, and what was good. So at a very high level, what do you need to get started with Claude Code? Number one, a paid Claude subscription. So this can start from the Pro tier. Number two, the Claude desktop app. Number three, a folder on your computer that Claude Code can access. Number four, a GitHub account or something similar. Number five, a Netlify account or something similar to that also. Number six, API keys so you can connect it to other tools that you use. My recommended approach for the workflow: use Claude Chat to plan and troubleshoot what you're trying to build, and then use Claude Code to build it itself. When things break, and they will, pass the instructions from Claude Code back to Claude Chat to understand what's going on. A few weeks ago, I didn't even know what a terminal was. Now I have a working lead generation tool on my website. And that's what's made learning Claude Code worthwhile. So as I said, if you want to see the final finished tool, please try out the link and let me know your feedback. You'll also be able to get your own AI readiness assessment, so you get a good sense of where you are and where you stand compared to other people. And it'll give you some recommendations of what you can do to improve your AI readiness. I'd love to know, what is your idea and what are you thinking of building? If you found this video helpful, please make sure to subscribe and join me on this journey. I share a long form video every single week to help you use AI better in your life and your work. I also have a weekly AI newsletter, and you can subscribe using the link in the description. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.